What do you do when you are trapped in a Portuguese conversation that you can't follow and you have no idea how to escape without being rude? Or maybe you can't actually stop and chat but don't know how to stop the conversation from going further? Do not panic, I'm about to give you the exact escape phrases that my students use when conversations go beyond their comfort zone, including one phrase that instantly makes Portuguese people want to help you. By the end of this video, you will have a complete toolkit, 6 essential escape phrases, the cultural insights that explain why Portuguese conversations can catch learners off guard, and my 2-question rule that lets you show interest without getting stuck in conversations that you can't follow. If you're new here, bem-vindo ao canal. My name is Liz and I help English speakers relocating or retiring to Portugal to build their confidence and conversation skills in European Portuguese. Every week I share practical tips like this, so if that sounds useful, hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss out. And before we dive in, if you are serious about finally understanding and speaking Portuguese with confidence, I've created a free lesson for beginners that learners call the best hour they've ever spent learning Portuguese. It covers pronunciation, essential grammar, and the exact phrases you need for real-life conversations. The link is in the description, grab it below before we continue. All right, so let's start by talking about why Portuguese conversations can catch learners off guard. There's something that textbooks won't tell you, and that's that the Portuguese people do like to chat longer than you might expect. So I feel like in the US and the UK, you might exchange pleasantries for like 30 seconds and then move on. But in Portugal, that quick hello in the elevator can easily turn into a 5-minute conversation about the weather and your family and where you're from and whether or not you've tried the pastel de nata from the bakery on the corner. And topics will go deeper, faster. While you're still processing como está, they've already moved on to ask you about your weekend plans or to comment on the political news. And the other thing is, silence isn't always comfortable here like it might be in other cultures. So you'll probably find that Portuguese people will fill the conversational gaps, which means if you go silent because you're struggling to understand, they'll just keep talking to fill that space, and suddenly you are even more lost. When you combine fast Portuguese pronunciation, because remember, Portuguese is what we call a stress-timed language where we gobble up the sounds, with longer conversations and deeper topics, it's no wonder that you might get stuck, so don't worry, you are not alone. So before I give you these escape phrases, let me tell you 3 topics that will work everywhere in Portugal, because sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So if you can steer the conversation to these safe zones, you are much less likely to get lost. So the first is, of course, the weather. I know it's a cliche, but the Portuguese do love talking about the weather. So a simple "Está muito calor hoje" or "Que dia tá bonito" can carry you through a quick exchange. Topic number 2 can be about the local area. So comments about the neighborhood always go down really well. You could try, for example, "Gosto muito desta zona." I really like this area. Or "Esta zona é muito bonita." This area is very beautiful, because Portuguese people have a serious pride in their localities. Then, of course, we have time of the day greetings. You need to master your bom dia, boa tarde, and boa noite, and you can use those generously. You can even add como está, which shows you making an effort, and then that is half the battle won already in Portugal. If you want more conversation starters like these, I've actually made a whole video on starting conversations with your neighbours. I'll link that for you to watch at the end of this video. So now for the good stuff, the phrases that are actually going to save you when you're in over your head. Phrase number 1 is "Não percebi muito bem." Não percebi muito bem. This means I didn't understand very well. It's honest without being abrupt, and it works perfectly when you need to explain why you're struggling. Now, a quick pronunciation tip, that first E is closed, so it almost disappears. Percebi. And make sure that you emphasize the final I. That is where the stress goes in this word. Percebi. Now, you might be wondering, why is the stress going on the final syllable? When I did this video, I said that the default rule was it's on the penultimate syllable that the stress is going to fall. But actually there are a few letters where if the word ends in this letter, the stress is going to go at the end instead. That is R, U, L, Z, and I. So because this word ends in an I, we're putting the stress at the end. Percebi. Phrase number 2 is diga. With just one word, a questioning tone. It's like saying sorry or say again in English. It comes from the verb dizer, which is to say, and it's the formal version of saying, say that again. So it's polite for any situation. Super quick and super natural. I actually made a whole video breaking down this word, why it's so useful and when to use it. That is linked in the description below. Phrase number 3. Foi bom falar consigo. Foi bom falar consigo. This means it was good talking with you. So that is a warm, friendly way to wrap up a conversation. What I love about this phrase is that it acknowledges the person and the conversation without committing to anything further. So you're being genuine and kind, but you're clearly signaling that the conversation is ending. So it works really well in any situation, from quick chats with neighbors to longer exchanges at the market. Phrase number 4, tenho que ir andando. Tenho que ir andando. So this literally means I've got to get going, and then you can follow it with the appropriate time of the day greeting. So for example, you could say tenho que ir andando. Bom dia in the morning, boa tarde in the afternoon, and boa noite in the evening. This is such a natural Portuguese way to exit a conversation. You're being polite, wishing them well, but you're also making it clear that you're leaving. Phrase number 5, desculpe, tenho pressa. Desculpe, tenho pressa. This means sorry, I'm in a hurry. So this is a really quick, effective exit when you need to leave fast. Let's work on the pronunciation of desculpe. That first E is closed, so it almost disappears. It sounds like this, desculpe. And the pressa has a double S, which makes a strong S sound. Sometimes people want to make this a sh, and that's not correct. When you see more than one S in a row, it's going to be a S sound. An alternative to this would be estou atrasado. Estou atrasado. That's how you can say I'm running late. Just remember that if you're male, you'll say atrasado, and if you're female, you'll say atrasada. So you'll use tenho pressa when you're generally in a hurry, but you'll say estou atrasado or atrasada when you're specifically late for something. If you need help with any of the pronunciation of the phrases we're going through today, then I have created a free pronunciation guide that breaks down 7 of the trickiest sounds in Portuguese with audio from native speakers. It's linked below in the description, so grab it and you can practice these escape phrases with confidence. And finally, we have phrase number 6. Desculpe, ainda estou a aprender português. This is the golden phrase. It means, I'm sorry, I'm still learning Portuguese. Remember that because estou begins with an ES, this often gets dropped, that first E. So in fast speech, you're probably only going to hear estou, estou. And in Portuguese, the stress is on the last syllable. How do we know that? It's because it has an accent. Always remember, if a word has an accent on it, that's where you've got to put the stress. Português. But here's the good news. Portuguese people are incredibly supportive of learners. So if you say this, I believe that the whole energy will shift. They will slow down, simplify the language. It's kind of like a get out of jail free card, but a polite one. So this phrase changes everything. So make sure that you've got it down. So what about that 2-question rule that I was talking about at the beginning? That's my practical framework. I want you to ask one genuine question to show respect and interest. That's how we're going to get started. So for example, you could say, E consigo, como está? And you, how are you? Then you can listen to their response and then give your own short response, which can be one of these exit phrases that we've been talking about today. So it might look a little something like this. Olá, tudo bem? Tudo bem, obrigada. E consigo? Bem, bem. Que bom, desculpe, tenho que ir andando. Bom dia. That keeps it very simple, it's polite, it's effective. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do these strategies actually work? Are these escape phrases going to work for me? Well, let me share what happened with one of my students, Natasha. She said, one of our neighbours just popped by to say hello. We're very much at the beginning of our Portuguese journey, but we were chatting for a good 20 minutes with our limited vocab, and we managed to have a great conversation somehow. There was lots of smiling and laughing, so we see it as a complete win. So the more you can work on your confidence and conversation skills in Portugal, the more it's going to pay off. She was able to manage 20 minutes at the very beginning of her studies. That's what happens when you embrace the process and really learn how to navigate conversation. So if you want to build a proper foundation so you're not stuck in conversations that you can't handle, you need to go and attend my free lesson for beginners. It covers pronunciation, essential grammar, and practical phrases that will genuinely change your life in Portugal. And that's also where you can learn more about my beginners program, Portuguese Pro. So if you want to take your learning further, just comment escape and I'll send you the link directly. So there you have it, your 6 golden escape phrases for when you are stuck. If you found this helpful, you will love these videos on small talk and conversation strategies. I'll link them in the description as well below. I'll be back at the same time next week with more tips and tutorials to improve your confidence and conversation skills in Portuguese, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. Ciao for now.